Welcome back, everyone, to Brucci versus Chachi or Chachi versus Brucci, depending on who's winning goes first. We're back with a change of format. We figured we would merge our two podcasts together, the Brucci and Chachi movie watch list and Brucci versus Chachi, and we're just going to go on the Brucci and Chachi stream. Decided to mix it up and come at you with a movie. This week, we are watching a personal favorite of Chase's, and that is the 1995 heist, critically acclaimed movie by Michael Mann, and that is Heat. Not to be confused with Melissa McCarthy's Heat, but Michael Mann's Heat. Anyways, it's good to see you, Chase. I'm glad that we finally decided to do this again. And I'm excited that it was for this movie. This was a great movie. Before we get into it, I can preface it by saying I think I've watched this movie like 5 times, but each time I feel like I fall asleep, or if anyone knows me, I am watching it on my phone and doing chores and stuff. So it felt like I watched a brand new movie because I sat down and watched it front to back. Yeah.
It's the first time you ever sat down and watched it, you mean?
Yes.
And all the other times?
Yes, you sat down and was intentional. Well, if you're an avid listener to our podcast, you know that I like watching movies on my phone, and I used to be known to watch them in the car while I was driving. So I've definitely consumed films in a multitude of different ways. But this one was on the telly with the DVD that I own. So, highest of quality.
You have the DVD? I have my 4K Heat thing here.
I think I'm pretty sure I have the Blu-ray, but I definitely don't have the 4K. I only have 5 4K movies so far.
Oh, gotcha.
Anyways, I'll let you kind of introduce this movie.
Perfect.
Just kind of let you spill your guts before we get into the nitty-gritty.
Yep, because I have a whole thing
before
right
we begin
here.
And if this is video podcast, I'd like to introduce Mr. Kitty, and Zeus is back here. So it's a madhouse in here.
You know what's funny is going over to your house, your dogs, from afar, just seeing from the outside, your dogs don't seem like, they don't seem like what do you call it, too attached, but they totally are. They're seatbelt pets. They love you.
I leave the room.
They love you, and they always follow you around, and they love people and you being pet by people. But he
almost as much as Val Kilmer likes betting in this movie.
He's got to gamble. He is it's a great movie, but it's came out in 1995. It's a crime thriller. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, cops and robbers. A really good way to think of it is that it's kind of it takes old concepts and it makes old concepts new again, right? So you have the whole cops and robbers thing, which also kind of goes back to a Western themed a little bit, where you have sheriffs versus bandits and stuff like that, right? But you also have the director himself, Michael Mann, who is kind of notable. He made Thief in 1981. I don't know if you've ever seen Thief. It stars James Caan. It's really good. Thief is about, he's a safecracker in it, and he kind of has to choose between staying with a family, trying to start a family, or going back and working another last job. But that was his first movie where he was kind of everybody who saw it was this is definitely a guy to watch and a new arrival on the scene, because beforehand you had you hadn't seen crime kind of done in a real way like that. You kind of had Godfather, but in The Godfather you don't really see crime like that done on the screen. It's more their crime is they just sell stuff or they kill each other. It's not crime as in technical expertise on how to
large
how to
scale
do
heist.
Yeah, and in a very real way. It's not just Yeah, it's not just like a simple like I don't know, just blow the hinges off with dynamite. But that's a great movie, and it's also the first time Michael Mann worked with like real cops and real criminals to, or it's not the first time, but it's like the first big blockbuster mass audience movie he made that we saw that in, that you'd be able to see that, where it's like the people working with the James Caan character to help break the safe are real life safe crackers that he worked with on the movie. The guy who the cop in this movie is based off of was a consultant on that. We'll get into Robert De Niro's character Neil
Yep.
McCauley was a real person, and the cop killed him. Was Michael Mann was friends with him forever, because it's kind of interesting. Michael Mann was like born in Chicago, raised in Chicago, and all of the stories, like all the crime stories in his movies, including this one, Heat, is actually like they're all Chicago based, and it's kind of like interesting to put
Yep.
them into Los Angeles. But Michael Mann also made a movie called The Keep right after Thief, which is a crazy movie. It's about Nazis unearthing like a supernatural golem that comes and kills them all, and it retroactively stars Ian McKellen when he wasn't really a big famous movie star. That one is really weird. It's a weird movie. Nobody liked it. Everybody was like, "What is this thing?" And it made him retreat into TV, where he made Miami Vice. So Miami Vice was like one of the biggest TV shows of all time. In my mind, it's kind of almost like the Game of Thrones of its day, because it's trying to push like TV into movie making. It's trying to combine the two. Like it's not just like a
He made
sitcom.
before this, correct?
He made what?
He made Miami Vice prior to the Heat, correct?
Yes, 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 yes. He is 1995, and I think Miami Vice came out in 83. 83 or 84, I think.
Yes, it looks like 84 to 89, and then I think I don't know if he directed it or produced it or was just assistant on a remake in '06 per his letterbox.
I mean, he wrote and directed the Miami Vice, the movie with Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx.
The '06 one, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because he created and directed like the first couple episodes of the TV show, and then right after that, you got
So I
Manhunter.
guess before we to clarify, so prior to this film, like, so you're saying that Heat really established the heist and higher level films, higher level crimes that inspired movies like Oceans and Catch Me If You, well, what is it? Catch Me If You Can and all that shit, like all the big heist movies. This really was like the first of its kind.
I would
Is that what
say
you're?
no, not Heat. Heat is like the penultimate scenario of this, where beforehand you have movies like Point Break, right? You have movies
Okay,
like Set It
yeah.
Off. Set It Off, which is like Heat, but if it's all female black cast, where it stars like Queen Latifah,
Oh,
Jada
I've
Pinkett
seen that
Smith.
movie.
It's actually pretty
Yeah.
good. But they're all in Los Angeles, because in Los Angeles during the early '90s and late '80s, there was a really big like bank robbery movement for some reason. Where like I remember like if you did the statistics, you actually had like it was maybe like if you worked at a bank, you had like a 75% chance of being held up or being robbed during the late '80s and '90s, based on how many robberies actually happened like in the Los Angeles area. Like that's why all those movies in the early '90s have like bank robbery.
Okay.
Why that's why it was such a big thing, because it actually
Because it was prevalent
a
at the
thing.
time.
Yeah, it was like it was
Right.
all over the news. But Heat to me is the penultimate, like it's the epic story of that. It's not trying to be like a niche crime movie of like a Point Break, where Point Break they just run in, they held up the store with guns, and then they just kind of put the money in the bag and that's it. Heat has the elements of like the characters are like Michael Mann says it in a way where their universe is upon themselves, where they actually have wives and kids, and they have parents, and they have like connections, and they're not just there to kind of like point a gun. Like the Brody's henchmen in Point Break aren't like the henchmen in Heat, where Tom Sizemore
Right.
has a wife and kids, and when he gets shot, you see the wife's reaction to it and stuff like that. Like, families are broken when the criminals are killed, which is an interesting point in Heat. And Heat also plays out like like an epic or like an opera in a certain way. It's like it's a hunter and prey, cop and robber type of movie, but it's very high class and it's almost very like high art in a weird way, and it's very like technically correct. Like it's very much excuse me. It's trying to get all the little details right. Like how would it actually do it step by step. And then you can tell that with like the gunfire in it, and you can tell that with the shooting techniques, and you can tell that with the type of explosives they use. Everything was like exactly how it would go. From the crime side, and from the cop side, it's kind of like, well, we just kind of have to follow them and report back on them. And every single thing that you see the cops do is basically based off of a real life incident that happened to Chuck Adamson, who was the Chicago police officer that Michael Mann worked with and consulted with for Thief and Heat. I think Chuck Adamson may have died 2005, I think around there. So, like the part in Heat when Neil McCauley senses that something isn't right, and he hears that noise, but it's the cop like falling down in the truck. That's a real story that happened to Chuck Adamson
Oh, wow.
while he was following the real Neil McCauley. So it's almost like a weird fictional retelling of this cop and robbers like relationship, and the coffee shop scene as well is totally like that happened between Chuck Adamson and the real Neil McCauley. So it's a really interesting like fictional retelling of high class crime. But in my mind, he is also a great like, where is it here? Like almost every scene, he has so many big set pieces and so many big scenes that you think of. There's like 4 or 5 like gigantic scenes in it that you always take away, and you're like, man, I gotta watch that scene again and again. I mean, we start out with the semi truck crashing into the armored van tipping over, and when Wayne Grow kills the guy, which that was your favorite character, I bet. By the way, did you like Wayne Grow? You're like, yeah, Wayne Grow.
No, I actually couldn't. I surprisingly could not stand him. Um, but I did some research today on the movie, and one of the bigger things on the film and why it's so well respected is how many different settings they use and different filming locations, and they used prominent Los Angeles locations for the filming. Am I right on that? Like it was mostly filmed all within LA at, like big restaurants on the street, very almost hyper realistic because they didn't throw them in a studio for it.
Oh yeah, it's all like there's like 105 total locations. I think there's 100, which is crazy for a movie, by the way. And I think out of Los Angeles
Right.
locations, only like 10 of them had been used before. And it is crazy though if you think about like shutting down a street and having to actually shoot the bank robbery escape scene. Because I found out that they only could they could only shoot on Saturdays and Sundays. So you had to stage a whole,
On the street.
yeah. So like when they're on the street and they're like in that huge gunfight with the police after robbing the bank, like only being able to shoot that scene for 2 days a week is crazy. Like that must have taken so long.
Well, and that's truly like the bank heist scene on the street is one of the best scenes like in any action movie, specifically heist movies. Like
Oh
that
yeah.
scene is absolutely incredible. Um, just the chaos, but the controlled chaos in that like it's not a bunch of jump cuts. It is pleasant on the eyes, but also believable. The guns have like you can hear not just the gun, but you can hear the echo of the gun bouncing off of the building surrounding it. In my opinion, very realistic to how actual guns sound. Um, that's crazy though, because I would have to imagine that scene alone was fucking like 50 hours. I guess I've never filmed a movie. How long would you think that a scene like that would take to film?
I mean, if you are going through, you're shutting down a street. Usually, if you shut down a street in a
Right.
major city, a downtown street, you usually can only shoot between the hours of like 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. Like they only really grant you like crazy times in the morning like that. But if you're shooting it in broad daylight like that, like around noon or around 10 a.m., it's like you can only shoot during Saturdays and Sundays. In my mind, that's like a 2 week shoot at least. 14 days for just the bank scene. That would be my
Oh,
estimate. Because you have to get all those different angles, you have to get all the different cars, you have to get all the different like setups, and then you have to reset. The hardest part is having to do different takes, and where you're just like you haven't did all the windows getting smashed, all the cars getting shot up. It's like a lot of resetting and a lot of getting new cars in if you might have to. So, but then they can only do it two
and
days
then
a
I
week.
guess you
So
have
it's
to have
like,
some sort of, and you have to have continuity with the weather, right? Like
oh yeah,
you, you couldn't film if it was raining or if it was over. I mean, I'm sure you could do some post editing if it's overcast, but
right. But not if it's raining.
yeah,
Yeah, or like yeah.
that's so one thing that doing my research today that I found that I really appreciate about this movie is how much it was documented.
Oh yeah,
And
the
so
documentary
like
is great.
Michael Mann, like they have so many still photos of the process. What do they call that? Where they break down each scene by photo,
Oh, the
like
storyboards.
storyboard. It's like the storyboards for this movie are incredible, and then also the script. Like they have the full script with all the annotations that Michael Mann and other people have, and it's just like fast. I had never seen anything like that, and that's like it. Honestly, looked how my brain would work, like little tiny scribbles that nobody else but you could probably read. Um, but it's just a good dive, like a good dive into Michael Mann's mind for somebody who's only a film enjoyer, not a producer or anything on the creative
Right,
side.
right. It is interesting because one of Michael Mann's biggest tricks earlier in his career was using water trucks, like wetting down the street with water. So if you watch Thief, all the streets are super reflective, and like when the lights bounce off of the
Oh,
street, you can
because
see
it's
all the
wet.
street lights. Yeah, because it's wet. That wasn't a normal practice before like 1980, and Michael Mann kind of made that a big
And
deal,
is
a big thing.
that's to like help with the ambiance,
Yeah,
like
it's ambience and lighting, like to help light bounce off of the street, so you can actually. It also helps. Makes it look great, but it also kind of probably helps exposure. I'm gonna guess it as well, like to get more light into the camera. This movie also features two of the biggest, I mean, stars of the past of the 20th century.
I'd argue three
Tom
if you're
Sizemore.
considering the time period. No. If you're
I mean,
considering the time
I'm
period,
considering De Niro and Pacino.
yes, obviously. Val Kilmer at the time was a fucking superstar. His Point Break would have just came out a couple years ago,
He's not in
right?
Point Break.
Fuck, he's not in Point Break. But all of his Top Gun would have been semi recently, right?
Top Gun was almost 10 years before this.
Oh shit.
It
Well,
was
Val Kilmer
86
was
and
a
this came
big
out in
star.
95. He was a big star, 100%. People knew
But
who he
he's no
was. He was a
Pacino
cool dude.
or
He wasn't in The Godfather Part Two, and they weren't. The thing is that De Niro and Pacino were like super big in the '70s, and then they had giant movies that basically dominated 2 decades. Pacino wins an Academy Award 5 years earlier for Scent of a Woman, I believe, which is kind of that's a debate for another time. Oh, my camera just died. That's why. But they uh so he's still pretty dang big, and De Niro and Pacino had been in movies before together, but they never had a same scene, which is The Godfather Part Two. So in The Godfather Part Two, right, you have Pacino and De Niro in it, but they never talked. And so this is finally we're getting the two biggest like stars of it decades together in one movie at the same time. And they almost don't talk to each other again in the same movie, except for like the biggest scene, which is the coffee shop scene, which is fantastic.
um. So we were talking about the not to completely change the subject, but I think my favorite thing um, about the whole film is the lighting and the contrast between the foreground and the background. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%.
In particular, when it's um, like it might be one of my if I had to shoot one of my top 10 favorite set pieces or just visually pleasing would be when Neil and Edie or Amy Brenneman and De Niro are on the rooftop. I don't know if it's when they first met or if it's their second date, but the contrast of them on the balcony with the LA skyline behind them, it the whole time it's like, man, that looks so good. I don't think it's green screen because it looks so good, and it just pulls you in so much. And then throughout the film, how well they're able to use the lighting. One point sticks out. I mean, it was nothing crazy. It was reminiscent to the rat in The Departed, but in the very end, um, when Neil and Edie are supposed to be driving to the airport, they're in darkness, and you're getting the lights of the street lights and passing cars, and then all of a sudden they get to a tunnel, and the lighting is like, obviously there's a ton of lights in a tunnel, and they pass through, and it just looks great. And also it's a not so subtle, the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Because Neil dies like 5 minutes later. um but just like, take away the plot, take away everything else, oh just the way this movie looks is so good. um Especially compared to other heist movies. Like, not only is this a great heist movie, but it's also a great, like, produced film, and someone as feeble-minded as myself can even understand that.
Yeah, because I'm guessing you were talking about the scene where I know exactly what scene you're talking about, but they go into the tunnel. It's actually funny because I've been in that same tunnel many times. It's actually kind of past it's like North Hollywood, Northeast Hollywood by Pasadena. But it's like a giant tunnel, and then the light gets really bright and kind of yep.
Yep.
That part is amazing. That little like lighting thing there, that flare. Also, Josh, there is a on the Blu-ray. There's a bonus where it talks about it's a Q&A hosted by Christopher Nolan, where he has like a bunch of people from the cast and crew, and they talk about the movie, and they talk about that exact shot with Robert De Niro and Edie on the balcony.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
and it is green screen.
Oh fuck, that makes me so mad.
It is one. However, let me say this though. Wait. Let me just say this though. You are half right, because what they did is that they stood there on the balcony of the house, and they put green screens behind them, and then they shot them in front of like the green screen in the house, the same house, and then when they were done shooting the
while outside.
Yeah. So imagine like they're outside on the balcony, and then you just have green screens like on the balcony. And then when they were done with the dialogue, they actually took the green screens down and they just filmed behind them. They didn't film them in the shot. They just filmed the background. And they had to film the background with like all the lights, the Los Angeles lights in the distance. They filmed it at like a different frame rate, like a lower frame rate, so they could actually capture the lights at that distance with the camera exposure. So like, and then within an editing, they actually combined the two. So it's a weird, like, they did shoot there. It's almost like they did shoot there in the exact same scene, and it wasn't like they shot in front of, it wasn't like the two, Robert De Niro and the ED were in a soundstage and they shot on green screen. They were there at that house, but they just brought the green screen to the house and then took the green screens down and then filmed the background. And then put them together separately at a later time to make that shot work. So it was like, it's a weird,
that's
like,
fascinating.
You were both right.
It's a combination.
Yeah. But it's really amazing when you see it. It's like, you don't think about that when you're watching it, where it's just like, oh yeah, at this distance, a camera would not be able to capture all of that light in focus like that, and have these people talk to them in focus right in front of me. You don't think about it. You just think, obviously, you would set up a camera there. I want to also say, the cinematographer for this movie, his name's like Dante Spaghetti or something. And his most recent thing that he shot was the Millennium movie. Okay.
Well, I'm back to recording, so I've got I'm sure this is going to be a motherfucker for Chase to edit. I think that there is a concerted effort by the global cabal to silence our podcast, and that has presented itself in connection difficulties with Discord and using Audacity. And so I currently have a wireless earbud in my right ear, and I have my recording headphone on one ear, so Chase hears me through a tin can, and I sound beautiful in this recording. Apologizing in advance when you listen to this if it seems disjointed, but seriously, it's kind of been a fucking bitch to record this episode, and we will get it figured out for the next one. It's probably me, shocker that I don't know how to use technology, but I think that this will be able to last to the end. So to turn back, we were talking about the ambient setting, the settings in the film, and Chase was discussing how the film with Edie and Neil was recorded on top of the house, and not only was it outdoors, but they also used a green screen, so it was a combination, because that's what I had mentioned was like my favorite thing of this movie. Anyways, I'm back. Let's go.
That lighting is really great in this movie, and the color palette is awesome too. Like the blues and the grays.
Oh,
and you can see like the closest thing to this in terms of like visuals is The Dark Knight. Like Christopher Nolan. If you watch The Dark Knight right after Heat, The Dark Knight is like the Heat, Batman the Heat, or Batman Heat, or something like that. You can really tell. It's really obvious. But I also said that right after this, that this cinematographer, his name is like Dante Allegati or something. He just did the Millennium movie.
It's crazy that he's gonna win 2 Oscars for. I don't know if he won one for this, but I bet you he wins an award for Melania.
for Melania.
They have quite the trophy collection.
He's an established man.
A gifted Nobel Peace Prize and an Oscar for a shitty documentary, or more like mockumentary, but that's neither here nor there. So I said what I liked most about this movie, and that's the visual appeal to it. Obviously, the acting is fucking killer. I mean, it is a star-studded
Yeah,
cast. The script is great. I didn't get to do a ton.
Val Kilmer is so good in it.
Yes,
Val Kilmer is really great
I
in
didn't
it
get to
too.
do like 10 hours worth of research, but I probably did about an hour. I don't know if a lot of the scenes were improv or if any lines that stood out were improv, but the script is fucking incredible. Like, aside from I have one beef with the film, but that's that's whatever. But just
We'll get there. We might get there. I might bring that up in a little bit, and we might both have the same
okay.
opinion. Um, but yeah, all the acting is amazing, and the writing. I think the only thing that maybe is a bit off a book is all the Al Pacino stuff when Al Pacino has to like do his outbursts and kind of what he chooses to say, or what he chooses to say might not be exact in the script. Um, which is funny because he actually did reveal that he was on cocaine. Like he was doing a little bit of cocaine while making this movie. So that totally explains like his look and his outbursts
I was
in his
I was reading
movie.
something that he like scared himself while filming it, which is hilarious to me. Cause when he does cause she got a great ass, like the idea that he got like goosebumps. He's like, "Ooh, I'm scary." After saying that is hysterical to me. But I mean, now that
Also,
you say that he was on
yeah,
coke,
yeah.
that kind of tracks because his performance is batshit good. It's so good.
He has it's because his character, like a background work for his character, his backstory is that he actually does like a little bit of cocaine. Like like part of his character that you don't ever see is that he does he does like the fingernail bits of cocaine
Just a little nip
every
to
now
take
and
the
then.
edge off.
Yeah, but he's not like a full on cocaine addict. He just does it a little bit like every 2 days or something like that. But it is. I think when a lot of people first start watching this movie, they think he's overacting, and you can kind of see that in the earlier scenes with him when he's like, "Give me what you got!
Yeah, yeah.
Give me what you
When
got!"
he's
And you're kind of like, "What is he doing?" But as the movie goes on, you understand exactly what he's
it
doing.
it is fun.
And it's just
Okay, so
perfect.
that scene in particular, you're talking about when he's got the informant. I can't think of his name.
Yeah,
So he's sitting down with the informant, and they're having a casual conversation. He just starts screaming at him, and once in a while in films, a scene like that will take me out of it and be like, okay, if I saw this in real life, I'd be like, okay, something's fucking up because this is so overacting. Um, but it works in the film, especially as the film progresses. It he kind of grows into the character that he is in the beginning of the film, if that makes sense. Like the more you see of him, the more that it explains and justifies his actions earlier in the film. But it takes the entirety of the film to help justify the overacting, if that makes any sort of sense.
right, right. No, it totally does. I mean, because he calms down by the end of it for sure. But in the beginning, he's kind of going over the top. And De Niro has like a really interesting, like piercing, almost like a minimal approach to the
Oh,
character.
absolutely.
It's very like small movements and small gestures,
And one thing that
but it is still
I
very
do
good.
appreciate about this film is so many films have in just stories in general, they have the character arc, and in a majority of movies it's how does the person change throughout the movie. In every movie, they start out with this conflict or this dilemma in their life, and through the course of the film and the conflicts, they're able to resolve that and become a better person. Whereas in this film, they're the same person at the beginning and the end, and I greatly appreciate it. De Niro always says, "What if you feel the heat on the corner?" Well, why am I butchering the quote? But like, he lives by his motto throughout the film, and De Niro is the same, or Pacino's the same way, in that he's like, "Hey, I live and die for the shit that I do with my job. I'm not meant to be a family man." And like the opportunity at the very end of the film for both characters, the opportunity presents itself to resolve their issues, their big character flaws. And both of them just like, no, fuck it, I'm this way. And Pacino ends up leaving his stepdaughter in the hospital, and De Niro leaves his romantic interest because that's who they are. Not everything is fucking sunshines and rainbows. Sometimes you don't change as a person, and that's something I really liked about this film.
Well, De Niro's quote is, "You don't have anything in your life that you can't walk out in 30 seconds on if you feel like the heat is around the corner." It is correct. I do see what you're saying. They don't change. What it is that they both those people live by a certain code, and that code is being tested. And the whole thing is, how does what do they do when their personal code, their job, their business code, and their personal code is being put to the test and to the limit? And what do they do? And I always thought it was funny that Robert De Niro was just like, "Hey, yeah, this random girl that's like 30 years younger than me."
Okay, thank you.
Is somebody who I just can't live without.
I was like fucking so irritated because in this movie, Edie, or Amy Brenneman, is drop dead gorgeous. Like, and she's supposed to come off as nonchalantly drop dead gorgeous. And they're just at a bar, and she is just like flinging himself at fucking Social Security drawing De Niro in this film. And she's probably like in her mid-20s in this film, and he's like has probably great grandkids in real life in this film. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
It is one where it's kind of like, maybe she could have been aged up a little bit. It feels weird that she's like a graduate student. Also, she could have literally just played a graphic designer and not have played a graduate student. Maybe she looks like she could be like early 30s.
The graduate student spin didn't really add anything to the film for me. I did like her as a character, and I thought Natalie Portman was good in the scene she was in. I will say, and Ashley Judd, I wasn't a huge fan of Diane Venora in this. She was one of my, I wish it would have been better. I just did not like her character at all. You're not supposed to relate to them, but you're supposed to, I don't know, believe it or have some sort of feeling, and I just felt so disconnected from her character in this film, even though major plot points involve her.
That kind of ties into what I have thought about what aged the worst in this movie was the Vincent Hanna's or Al Pacino's entire family.
Yeah, it's
like that whole aspect. What Natalie Portman basically adds nothing to this movie, and I think there is a whole thing where it's supposed to be he'll always choose his job over his family or whatever, and this whole thing is he leaves his family to go chase De Niro at his end because his personal code is that he doesn't let them get away. He's not gonna let De Niro get away if he can help it. But there's like, but the thing is that it kind of, what happens to his family just kind of comes out of nowhere, and you kind of are just like, oh, okay, I guess this is happening.
I will say that definitely comes out of nowhere. Up to that point, she's like an innocent. Natalie Portman's character is like an innocent. Like, why doesn't my dad love me character, and then all of a sudden she's committing suicide in a rather like, I wouldn't say advanced, but unusual way, like you've heard of somebody else killing themselves in a bathtub kind of thing. So that was super odd to me too. It would have made more sense had she acted out in some sort of way beyond trying to hurt herself in the way she did. I completely agree with you.
You know what? It actually would have made more sense if they would have showed him being a cocaine addict a little bit, and then Natalie Portman gets into his cocaine.
Yeah, I like that. And also, I don't think the cheating, with the family aspect, I don't think the Justine cheating on Vincent, like, it felt so insignificant to the plot. They already had other issues, like, and they were also using the affair aspect with another character in the film. It's believable, but to me, I was like, okay, you didn't necessarily need to do this, and it already, like, it just makes me dislike this situation more.
Yeah. Also, I've seen this movie like at least 5 times, and literally every single time, except the most recent time I saw it, I always thought that for some reason, and I have watched this movie just like sitting here and just watching it, just no distractions at like so many times. I don't know if I've seen it in a theater, but I swear to God, I always thought that somebody had hurt Natalie Portman's character. Like, I thought that Waingro had somehow hurt Natalie Portman's character. Or I thought that Robert De Niro's character had hurt her in retaliation for Al Pacino's character, like, killing Tom Sizemore. And maybe he thinks, like, Chris is dead, so it's like, this is what you do to me, this is what I have to do to you. This most recent time is the only time I've ever realized that she tried to kill herself. And I've seen the movie, like, I've seen this movie so many times, and I just always thought man, that's I wonder how they found her. I don't know how or why. I just never put it together. I always thought somebody came in, and I always thought somebody come in and cut her with a knife. And I don't know why, how, or why.
Also,
and so that was always a question for me. I was always just like, who did this? Who found this out?
Also, just completely unrelated, it's kind of fucked up that Natalie Portman is a tortured youth in like multiple movies. She's tortured. He kills herself in Heat. Is in a weird pedophilic relationship in Leon the Professional, and has to let Lucasfilms torture her by being in the prequels.
She has a really messed up child acting career for sure. She was in some harsh movies.
And then the culmination is just let's tear it all down with V for Vendetta.
Yeah. That whole aspect to me just didn't like every single time I rewatch this movie, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, we have to spend like 5 or 6 scenes just with Natalie Portman for some reason. When that barely even enters the world of like
right
what this movie is, like the bigger picture of this movie. Would you have a favorite side character in this movie where you're like, holy crap, this guy is in this movie? Like, there's so many random that guy's in Heat, which is the Allstate commercial guy, the old Allstate commercial guy, Dennis Haysbert. Turns out to be he's like the driver they pick up at the
Right.
diner, right? And you have the guy who sells Chris explosives at the beginning of the movie. At the very very beginning of the movie, that guy is later. That guy is the lawyer in Jurassic Park.
Oh,
And
really?
here, he's a guy. Yeah, he's like the guy that gets eaten by the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. And in this movie, he's in it for like 2 minutes, if that. I think he's in it for like 20 seconds. You have Henry Rollins in it. You have Ted Levine, who is the Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. He's the Al Pacino's cop sidekick with the mustache and like the bald head. That's Buffalo Bill. You have Wes Studi, who is the Sphinx in our Mystery Men. Hank Azaria, who is the Blue Raja in Mystery Men. And all in the Simpsons stuff. You have William Fichtner, who's in a ton of like, he's in Contact. He's in The Dark Knight as like the bank manager at the very beginning of the movie. And you have John Voight in this as well as Nate.
Well, that's actually who I was gonna say is my favorite is John Voight. I would say he is a side character, but like right under the star, like probably aside from Val Kilmer's wife, probably the number one.
Oh, Ashley Judd.
Yeah, probably John Voight is probably the number one or number two side character in this film because of how much he sets up the Bond heist. I just like the way he plays it. It's like he's this kind of grimy, like you can tell he's a grimy higher class, almost like what is it? Michael, the dude in Kill Bill that lives in the trailer, like,
oh yeah,
has skills, knows what he's doing, but is also trash. Like his gross ass slicked back hair, and like the plan in general is so fucking dumb. Like just assuming that he's gonna buy back his bonds, which he clearly was not going to. I just really liked his character. And then, I don't know, even just the extras, like the, as you were talking about, the gentleman from Mystery Men, the diner manager, I thought was a great extra, because he's just pure evil. Just such a piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
Just like, but in a way that isn't over the top. He's not calling him racial slurs. He's not like being like, fuck you, you piece of shit. He's like, this is how it is. I'm going to steal your money because you don't have any other option. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
you're great. And this could be a whole movie in another, like, a whole movie, or we could really develop this plot more than we already do because he's so good.
He's also there to kind of show, like, for criminals
why they go back or they have the recidivism rate that they do.
Why they
because they have. I mean, full disclaimer: I have family members who have been to like jail and prison and are felons. It's a fucking bitch to get a job, man. Like, if you have a record, it is so hard to get a consistent paying job. So I thought they absolutely nailed that in this film.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, I'm definitely wanting to chase the big score so I don't have to do this anymore. And if I have to dip my toes back into crime to at least, like, make it so I don't have to be around people who are manipulating me. You completely understand.
Right. And, okay.
Do you have any nitpicks?
Okay.
I guess that you had a nitpick earlier about why the plan was dumb.
A side tangent before I get into my nitpicking is whenever I watch heist movies, and in particular last night because I've been fooling with a will and like taxes regarding being a beneficiary, whatever. And so I'm thinking like money and taxes, and it's like, okay, great. They have a $12 million heist at the bank, and you go to Neil's house. Neil has this great oceanfront house. Doesn't have furniture, but that's because he's a psychopath. But like the legality, I understand they're probably washing the money, but whenever I watch these big crime movies, it's like, okay, yeah, I understand you have the money, but how are you legally able to purchase a home, do all this shit without washing your money through an LLC? Does that make sense? Like
how long would it take? You can't just deposit all that
right,
money and
like
yeah.
you get
See, that's kind of what
$2 or $3 million. How the fuck are you supposed to turn that into a beachfront property? But I suppose that's where you're supposed to suspend your belief and be like, oh yeah, obviously he's washing it through an LLC. Maybe he owns a bunch of furniture stores or car washes.
Yeah, it is the thing where it's kind of like you just kind of have to assume that it's like how GTA works,
Yeah.
right? Like the video game. It's kind of like Nate is there, and you almost just have to kind of assume that whatever they steal, they can just kind of like take to somebody else and then get the immediate money back from it. Like they can just steal the money and then have it deposited in their account, or in their many accounts or whatever. But it's a very much like you almost have to be like, well, in real life they might still be millionaires, but they would have to be in an apartment or townhouse somewhere that would just be like, shit, cash deposit is fine. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's also in real life. Michael Mann talked to a lot of people who, and the actors. Tom Sizemore talked about how he talked to a guy who went to prison for a crime, and he said that a guy had a bunch of money and was successful and could have just not done crime anymore, but he kept doing it because that was his job.
Right.
And it was his job was a criminal, but he had money. So it's a weird well, they do, there are adults whose profession is just crime.
I mean,
and it's very much like but it's more, that's more just like, how does it actually work?
Right.
Than kind of being like, there's no way this could happen, because it can happen and does happen, but it's more just like, okay, how long would it actually take for you to take these millions of dollars and all this money and stolen cash
and
then
wash it and make it legal.
to get it and then use it?
Right.
Yeah, it's like, how long would this actually?
So you're talking about
take
nitpicking. I don't have a.
I also had that in wait, real quick. I actually had a bit of that in What Age the Worst as well, which is like this type of crime, which is that you steal physical objects, like a bunch of cash or something. This is like before digital. Like now it's like, why would you keep all this cash around if you can just keep it in a digital account?
Or honest,
and you like how much shit is just digital.
Honestly,
now, and
the first heist of stealing the bonds, it's like, yeah, if I've actually been looking into buying bonds because it's a safe investment form, but like they're physical bonds. And the idea is that they're able to sell the physical bonds back to the original owner. It's so absurd because like now it's all digital. It's all digital. If I go to the bank and buy a digital bond, I mean, if I buy a bond, it's like, yes, I do have a paper bond, but it is all digitized. Like, I couldn't file an insurance claim on it and turn around and still have the value of the original one plus the insured amount. My big gripe, it's not even a gripe. It's more of that I'm in healthcare and that Lauren's in healthcare and that I know a decent amount about it. Is like when Neil's or when Vincent's or Pacino's stepdaughter tries to kill herself, he, picks her up, puts her in a car, takes her to the hospital, and then runs into the OR, and it's like, you need to get this doctor to do this. You need to go do this. You need to go do this. It's like, okay, maybe that flies with some people, but that is such fucking out, even for like the 90s. Like, not even, I'm not saying like even that's been the standard for like fucking 100 years. That's just not how it works. And for a movie that is so meticulous in every other aspect, that kind of takes me out of it when something like that happens. And I'm sure that there's, if you watched a movie about making like where they make movies, you would feel the same way. But it's like immediately takes me out and be like, okay, well, yeah, this is absolute bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. It's a thing where, like, it's one of those things, though, where it's almost just kind of like, well, this doesn't happen in real life, but it's very, very rare that how hospitals work in real life is how you see them in the movie. Because the way that they work in real life is not at all
right,
interesting.
A shameless plug for The Pit, specifically season 1. But also, like, I'm able to separate my profession from it and be like, okay, it is a plot point to say, like, yeah, Pacino genuinely does love his stepdaughter and his wife, but he's still the way he's been the entire time, where his job is number one. Like, he does this and then he leaves, right? Like, he's establishing that he cares and that all of this matters to him, but that his job matters more. So I'm able to suspend, like, I'm able to get past that. And then, like, with that scene too, it's like he runs in after finding her committing suicide, and they're like, hey, is she on drugs? And he confidently says no. It's like, well, how the fuck do you know? You just found her. Like, what are we doing? Like, she could have done all the cocaine from there to Chicago without you knowing. Like, what the fuck do you know? But
yeah,
that honestly, that was my big complaint, and I wouldn't even say it's a complaint because I think it's fun and cheesy. The light at the end of the tunnel thing that we talked about earlier. It is totally cornball, and it's the same way in The Departed with the rat walking across the skyline. Like, that's so cornball, but it's also really cool. It's a.
You know what's funny though is I don't mind either.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I never minded the rat.
It's a cool dichotomy. Like, it's like, okay, it is very fucking cheesy, but also not many movies do that and have it fit and look well. And yeah, I don't know. There wasn't a ton of. And like I said, I'm not my other gripes is I wasn't a huge fan of just a few of the very, very insignificant plot points. This movie's almost 3 hours long, and if you've been an avid listener to Brucci versus the Brucci movie watch list, I'm a big fan of 90-minute movies. You can very well get rid of Ashley Judd or Charlene cheating on Chris. Doesn't really add anything to the plot. Like, it does to a degree because it causes De Niro to confront her, but if you're talking about the overarching plot, doesn't add anything.
Well, it does because the guy that that guy is the guy who.
Okay, so there's that. But and then I don't love the family aspect of the other thing. Unless
we kind of covered some of this earlier
in the something else really might.
I have a really big nitpick.
Let's hear it.
And every single time, I don't know if you noticed this or you made a mental note of this, but every single time I rewatch this movie, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And it might be the actual worst part of the movie that makes literally no sense and is actually bad editing and almost bad filmmaking, and almost to the point where you almost have to believe this is a fantasy movie of how ridiculous it is. But it's the part when they're about to kill Waingro in the parking lot in the beginning of the movie, and then they get distracted and they look up and they see there's a cop car coming, and so they kind of like
And
pretend they're not doing anything
completely
nefarious.
disappears.
He has him on the ground, gun pointed at him. He looks up for maybe 10 seconds.
And
then he looks back down, and Waingro is completely gone, and nobody knows where he was, and nobody heard him running away. It's like, okay, I can believe all the other stuff for this movie. I can believe that, how that like they exchanged gunfire in the middle of the street, and they shot thousands of rounds, and only like 2 people died. I can believe that. I don't believe that Waingro got up and ran away 3 feet away from Neil McCauley, and Neil McCauley somehow didn't hear him or see him, or nobody heard him running away. Like, does not make any sound when he runs? Like, is he a wizard? Like, can he just instantly disappear?
I like that.
Like, does he just throw the invisibility cloak on himself?
That's really funny.
Like, that part is so ridiculous. When you rewatch it now, if you ever rewatch it, you're just like, holy crap, like, they're looking under the cars. Like, is he hiding under the cars or something? It's like, they would obviously spot him. Like, they didn't look away for that long.
I like that.
Like, they would just be like, oh, he's over there. They'd just be like, oh, he's right there. Like, he's over there.
I never...
Like, it's ridiculous.
Oh, man, that's great. Because I thought that was really... at the beginning of a movie like that, I understand why it happens, so I don't really think twice about it. But now that you're mentioning it, it is absurd because it's not like it's just De Niro pointing a gun at him. It's the other two...
the whole crew is there.
Standing right there. And, I mean, it might be 4 seconds. Like, that's being generous. The idea that this fucking slob is able to stand up and run away. And also, I don't have a problem with it, but why is he also a homicidal maniac on the side? Like, I understand that it's establishing him as like this crazy man, but why is there this whole other arc of him being a prostitute killer?
That part is weird. Yeah, that's another part that maybe you could have cut out or something. There's a weird aspect of that too, where that almost exact same plotline happens in Set It Off, where there's like a serial killer killing prostitutes. It's very odd. Like, I don't know why they have to keep him in like that, or why they have to show him doing that. It's very, very strange. Like, they have 2 other people. They have 2 entire characters. That whole point is that they rat them out. Like, it's too much.
Yeah.
Like, it's just too much. You kind of have to pick one. And I like the Waingro getting away and becoming the rat, but it's a weird, like Vincent Hanna has to go comfort this mother, and so that she can see her daughter. It's just like, is this really the most important thing happening in the movie right now? Is this what we're going to be thinking about later on?
I agree.
No.
But boy, now that I've watched it and I've done some more research, this is probably going to be added to my yearly watch. I've got like probably 5 to 10 movies that I try and watch every year. And this will probably join the squad.
Dude, every time you rewatch it, it gets better. Every scene gets better. It's amazing, except for that fucking Waingro part. You're gonna every single time, even right now, if you go back and watch that scene, you're gonna be thinking,
grimy,
"How is this possible?"
He's just like, kind of gives you the ick.
Yeah. There's one last fun fact I have about this movie before we can stop it here. But the John Voight character, the Nate character, that Nate character is actually based off a guy called Edward Bunker. And Edward Bunker was a real life criminal that ended up writing a book about his experience in prison and becoming out of prison. and he actually has a starring role in Reservoir Dogs. He is Mr. Blue. He's like the old man
Oh, wow.
in the Reservoir Dogs crew. So that guy in Reservoir Dogs, the old man, that is the guy that Jon Voight's character is based on.
Interesting.
Yeah, so if you kind of look up Mr. Blue in Reservoir Dogs, Jon Voight's character in this is kind of like a rough sketch of him and what he looks like. I think Michael Mann worked with Edward Bunker for like consulting and stuff like that. But I just think it's also crazy. The craziest thing is that most of what you see in this movie actually happened between the real life cop Chuck Adamson and the real life Neil McCauley, but on just a lower stakes level. Like the bank robbery wasn't a bank robbery; it was they robbed an armored trunk. They robbed an armored truck after it had dropped off money at a grocery store and took the money, and then they shot them. And it wasn't a big bank, but stuff like that.
That's pretty great. So, if you had to, I know you're going to give it a 10. Would you give this movie a 10?
Yeah, of course.
It's definitely up.
It's a contemporary. It's a masterpiece. It's an American classic.
I definitely think, especially considering what I know about the film now, it's definitely a 10. And it makes me want to watch his other movies. Except if I need a good nap, I'll watch Manhunter. But everything else, I'll genuinely enjoy.
One day you're gonna get through Manhunter.
Yeah, before we get to it, how about being the best friend ever? There's a super rare movie store. Not rare. It's a famous movie store in Asheville. Why am I drawing? What's it called?
Orbit.
Thank you. Too many head traumas. And Chase texts me like 3 movies, and Lauren and I are there for Billy Strang's, and so I go, and I'm like looking for all of them, and these are like imagine Chase level of nerdy with movies times 10. Like you're able to pick up one of like 10,000 movies in there, and the whole staff is able to recite the whole movie and like funny lines, whatever. And I go up to one of the guys and I'm like, "Hey man, I'm looking for Manhunter Blu-ray." And he's like, "Huh, you're never going to find that here. We never have that. That's so rare. That's absurd you'd ask that," essentially. And so I'm like, "All right, well, okay." And I'm fucking off looking at whatever, and then the owner comes in, and he comes up to me, he's talking to me, he's like, "Yeah," I was like, "My buddy lives out in California, and he's a big fan of your store, and he asked me to look for the Manhunter Blu-ray," and he goes, "Oh man, I've got a single copy of this, a used copy." He's like, "Sweet, I'll take it." And he's like, "Yeah, like, this movie's so rare that I don't even own a Blu-ray of it. I own the Laserdisc of it." And I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm about to drop $100 on this movie." It was like $25. But anyways, it's just good friend over here, going through these hoops and ladders to find a fucking good nap movie.
I like that your Hoops and Ladders was just asking them if they had it.
I asked 2 people.
Dude, that is that is crazy. That's a good point. How like a rare out of print Blu-ray of a very famous movie and a very famous director is just $25.
Well, okay, and the thing with it too is like Chase is a great friend and is very gracious with his gifts. He gives out to his friends a lot of good gifts that aren't necessarily reciprocated back. And so, like, the owner is like, "Oh, yeah, I've got it. Let me go get it." And I turned to Lauren and I was like, "I'm just going to buy it for Chase. I don't care how much it costs." I was literally thinking it was going to be, like, over $100. And he comes back and I look at it, it's like $25. I was like, "Yeah." Like, there was no question. The
No
2
problem.
movies that I bought for myself were more expensive. Which was funny too because if anyone knows me, I'm super cheap. I had like a stack of like 5 or 6 movies, and as I like walked around the store, it slowly dwindled down to 2 movies because I was too cheap to buy the other ones. I ended up with Dogma 4K. Shout out my boy Kevin Smith, and the Princess Bride in the Criterion Collection, which is my first Criterion Collection movie. But a feather in Chase's cap, because I stumped the super nerds at Orbital when I wanted a Burning, the South Korean movie Burning that we watched in our previous podcast. And I stumped the dudes behind the counter when I asked for it.
Yeah, that was the first episode.
I felt pretty damn happy. They're like, "Oh, are you talking about The Burning, the slasher film from the 80s?" And I'm like, "No, I'm talking about the South Korean film about the arsonist." And they're like, "Huh? No, never heard of it. We don't have it." And I wanted to just be like, "Well, how about I become your boss?" That's like
if it's possible, that is really funny. If it's like, it's almost like this is how it works. If I know a movie you don't know, then I become
it's like
your
the
boss.
ultimate gatekeeping. It's how I am. It's how
Yeah.
it's how you are with movies, but it's how I am with jam bands. Like I absolutely nerd out. I've met some really good people that I get along with just through jam bands, and it is a constant like dick measuring competition of who knows more music than the other.
Who knows
Yeah,
the more
exactly,
jam bands?
Exactly.
Like who knows the best live performances?
Right. Well, I appreciate it, everyone that stuck through this. I know that we had some real technical difficulties with this recording, but even if there's only 5 people that listen to this, just let us know what you want to hear. If you want to hear us talk about sports, this free agency cycle was crazy, and I think that both of us would have some pretty fun takes about it. Or if you want to hear us talk about the NBA or movies, TV shows, probably not politics. Probably don't want to hear Josh's politics, but everything else is on the table. Just let us know, and we appreciate you listening to us. So, anything on your end, Chase?
No, I think that was perfect.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to another Brucci versus Chachi or Chachi versus Brucci. We'll determine the order of the title next week based upon who you all thought won. So, take care.